Capitol to say loud and clear that 40 years of occupation and 59 of dispossession and inequality are more than enough.
Well, if you look at the history of social change in this country, major policy changes are always preceded by grassroots organizing and changes in public opinion. The work that we've done over the past 10 years has laid the groundwork for a real sea change in the actual policy.
The origins of the U.S. campaign was really at a very difficult time, both in terms of events in Palestine. It was the moment of the Second Intifada, which was a very, very difficult thing to figure out a response to. And very quickly in our process of creating the campaign came 9/11, which of course transformed everything about how we did this work.
If we're ever going to see peace in the Middle East, this is the linchpin, solving the Israeli-Palestinian conflict and question.
What makes the U.S. campaign different than any other Palestinian rights or human rights organization I had ever worked in before was the decision to focus very directly on U.S. policy, rather than looking at the twists and turns of developments in the region on a daily basis. And what that meant was, by focusing on human rights and international law, we had a framework that made it possible to do everything we wanted to do.
So if you have roads that are for some people and not for other people, if you have checkpoints that stop some people and not other people based on identity, if you have a law of return for some people and a right of return that's denied for others, you have two systems of law in the same location for people based on identity. And that systemic discrimination is what we felt we needed to take on and to engage the U.S. public.
The policy analysis and educational work that we do, I think, is really helping to inform the grassroots about what's going on in Washington, and most importantly, how grassroots activists can plug into those debates and help affect them. So for example, we put together fact sheets, we put together frequently asked questions to really enable and empower activists to take action. We've sent organizing packets to volunteer organizers in more than 800 cities across the United States. More than 2,000 people have received these packets and are out there in their communities educating people, organizing people.
I think if you want peace in the Middle East, you have to work for justice. And justice doesn't just mean justice for one side.
So in order to help groups in terms of growing and having a large community impact and organizing, we started offering telephone conference calls. The UN Vote, Freedom Flotilla, and they've been really successful, and we've received a lot of great feedback. People really appreciating the opportunity to get to hear from experts on specific topics.
In 2005, Palestinian civil society launched a broad call for boycott, divestment, and sanctions on Israel until it complies with international law. Corporate accountability work has been a part of the U.S. Campaign Coalition's work from the very beginning, and we really see the growth now of BDS campaigning among the coalition members. We've worked alongside many other organizations around the country that are part of the coalition, and we're working to promote and strengthen BDS campaigns throughout the coalition through skills building and trainings, through action alerts, through legal memos and fact sheets. Divestment campaigns have sprouted around the country, in particular in Hampshire College, where the college decided to divest from Caterpillar as well as other companies involved in the Israeli occupation.
Because the entire discourse is breaking down, and because we're playing such a central role in helping to challenge the discourse in this country by getting into the mainstream media, by creating our own media, by making sure that our message gets out to millions of people, the whole facade that Israel is a democracy in the Middle East, and that it's the victim rather than the oppressor. This whole facade is in the midst of crumbling, and we're helping to make it crumble.
We are becoming more sophisticated in our organizing and our capacity to impact change around U.S. policy. But also, I think the diversity that we have in our coalition speaks to the fact that we are really trying to bridge the gap between racism in the United States as it's exported to other countries. And so by galvanizing all these different groups, we're really doing the work of anti-racism in a very comprehensive way. Because I think we are at a pivotal time right now in history in terms of turning the conversation around.
The boycott, divestment, sanctions BDS movement has grown in proportions that nobody could have even expected. It has generated more of a threat to the status quo than diplomatic lip service or even UN resolutions ever had. Targeting Israel, really showing Israel that there is a price, a cost to occupation, to apartheid, to discrimination.
Israel and its supporters in the United States are getting more and more concerned about our collective effectiveness. The biggest obstacle to Palestinians achieving their long denied rights to freedom, to self-determination, to justice and equality is U.S. support for Israeli occupation and apartheid. And when we're able to succeed in ending U.S. support for these policies, no doubt that Israeli occupation and apartheid will not be able to be sustained any longer.